Hi everyone. I hope that this is actually streaming. I am going to check on my phone real quick to see if that's actually happening. Yep, it looks like it is. Okay. So we've got a lot going on with the weather as we head into the rest of today and into tomorrow, even into the weekend. Now, what's happening is we've got a pretty massive severe weather threat for today, and that is concerning for a lot of different reasons. And basically, you need to be alert if you are in this area. Okay, wanted to make sure that I am on live on that I am live right now on YouTube. Anyway, so I am, but kind of just going to what I was saying, we've got a pretty massive severe weather threat. So let's talk about timing, what's happening, and let's actually get a look at radar right now because we do have some thunderstorms starting to pop up near central Texas there, near the heart of Texas, as we like to call it, kind of Dallas, just west of Dallas, Fort Worth. And we had some really massive hail, well, maybe not massive, but $50 size hail yesterday in Granbury. These could be some pretty big hail producers. So things are starting. We're not anywhere near the main event yet, but it's going to be heading our way soon. And the Storm Prediction Center actually has this up. It's a moderate risk. This includes Dallas. And it's just shy of Waco. Looks like it just updated there. It doesn't look like anything big, but Shreveport's kind of included, that southwest corner of Arkansas. And then Little Rock, you've got the enhanced risk, Waco. Also, you got a slight risk stretching from San Antonio to Jackson, Tennessee. So Arklatex region, including that southeast edge of Oklahoma, you folks really have to be watching carefully. And let's talk about this in terms of categorical risks. And it's nice that the Storm Prediction Center does this because you can really see what the risks are. So the tornado risk is 10% from just east of Abilene all the way to Little Rock, and that's where that hatched area is. And basically, you have a 10% chance to see a tornado within 25 miles of your location. That's what that means. So there's a pretty good chance there's going to be a few tornadoes, maybe more than a few. And some of those tornadoes could be on the high end, large, longer track, EF2, EF5. And that's what those hatched marks mean. And that's why we always pay a lot of attention to those when you see this, when you break it down by category. So, anywhere from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metro into Little Rock, including Southeast, Oklahoma, Northwest, Louisiana, talking to you folks in Shreveport, you have to be really alert today. And if you live in a mobile home, it's a good time to look for either public shelters or spend the night with friends and family that actually have, a more suitable, sturdy home to be in. You're just not safe in a mobile home or an RV. And I know RV living, that sort of thing is becoming really popular, but you need to be in a safe structure and preferably underground or, in a place that's designed to stand up or withstand tornadoes. So basements are great, but storm shelters are great too. And just anything. There's a lot of public storm shelters, public schools, churches, that sort of thing. Usually your community will have a list. I wish there was a kind of a national list of storm shelters. I will try to work on that because I think that's actually really needed. But if you're in that hatched area or even in the, green or brown, I would say consider it. Even if you're in that 2 to 5%, if you're in a mobile home, it doesn't hurt to spend the night with friends or family. So that's the tornado risk. And then wind, 45%. We're going to be looking at 70 plus mile per hour wind gusts. So, with some of these storms, it doesn't even have to have a tornado with it to damage your home with those winds. And then hail is interesting. So the Dallas area right here is at a 45% chance. And the hatched area means you can see some pretty darn big hail. So there were already hailstorms yesterday in Texas. I think they're going to be a lot worse today. So let's get over to timing. Now, this is the HRRR, high resolution model. And I'm on the 12Z, which is an earlier run, just because it goes out a little further. And, I think it's still going to be pretty accurate at this point. It's picked up on those storms that are, already developing right now in Texas. And then you see as we head into the afternoon and evening hours, this is 6 o'clock, and those storms are just firing up. And, we've got the chance for supercells, but we also have a really powerful line of storms that's going to be developing. Both are going to have severe storm threats. Both are going to have a tornado risk with them. So, even if you see a line of storms, doesn't mean you're not going to see tornadoes in it, and that's definitely going to be possible. So you're going to see that, and you can see this stretching from San Antonio into Little Rock, and these storms just continue into the overnight. That's midnight there, and then as we head into 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, so a lot of this action, especially as it heads toward the Memphis area, is going to be in the overnight time period, and nighttime tornadoes are twice as deadly because of that. And okay, just making sure that I had the right view up on my OBS system, because I've done that before where it's just my face talking for however long I do the live. I want to make sure I wasn't doing that. But anyway, so you see that this line continues to push east. So this is when we go into the threat for the southeast. So the Arklatex region this afternoon, tonight, including southeast Oklahoma, this is today into about midnight is really when you're going to see the biggest threat. But then as this shifts east early tomorrow morning, you see storms moving over Tennessee, and some of them are kind of actually looking a little concerning here, because you see that they have that kind of kidney bean shape to them. Those supercells could be producing tornadoes in Tennessee and Alabama, even into Georgia possibly. So we've got a slight risk for tomorrow, but I'd say don't let your guard up tomorrow, even if it's just a slight risk. You can still see tornadoes. So that's what we're looking at for tomorrow. And you can see that line of storms kind of starting to finally break apart by late in the day on Friday. So there's that slight risk. I mentioned this. This goes from Louisville into Nashville, all the way through Middle Tennessee, East Tennessee. This includes Knoxville, Chattanooga, into the western half of the Carolinas, Charlotte, Columbia, Atlanta, Columbus, Georgia, and then also Birmingham, Alabama, Huntsville. All you folks are under that slight risk. And for a lot of you, that's happening kind of in the first half of the day, but even into the second half of the day, Georgia, into the Carolinas, that's when you're going to see that risk of severe weather. Now, tomorrow is going to be a tornado and wind threat. 5% tornado for Nashville, Bowling Green, Louisville, into Atlanta, Birmingham. That's not something to ignore. So you could easily see a spin up or two, a few tornadoes. I'm not going to rule that out in Middle Tennessee, down into North Georgia, into Alabama, into Western Carolina, even West Virginia, Western Virginia, not West Virginia. And then damaging winds tomorrow, even outside of thunderstorms, you can see gusts over 50 miles an hour. There are wind advisories already in effect for, this area here in the yellow and brown. So that's what we're looking at for tomorrow. And so today and tomorrow, you need to be weather aware. Hopefully that's kind of a good close look at your threat for severe weather. Let's focus now on the winter weather real quick, because that's another thing we're looking at. And yeah, so you see those, the moisture from this low pushing north, and then suddenly really heavy snow is breaking out in the Midwest and into the Northeast. And Chicago is actually going to be kind of on the line there, and it really depends on what model run you're looking at, but I think Chicago is going to get a lot. Same thing into, Michigan, Detroit, and then parts of upstate New York. You're going to see a wintry mix on the southern side of this. So New York's probably going to see, kind of a wintry mix, maybe an inch of snow. Boston, you'll probably see a few inches from this. And then this continues to move to the north and east. Now, there's going to be some changes to this forecast, because you might see, depending on how things shape up with the low pressure. So you've got this main low that's pushing to the north and east, and then you'll have a secondary low developing off the coast. And if that strengthens, you might actually get some pretty decent snow in areas like New York City and Boston. But right now, it's looking like, a couple of inches in Boston, I would say 2 to 4, maybe an inch or so in New York City. Now, you go over here toward Illinois, and this is basically Friday into the first half of Saturday for the Midwest, and then Saturday for much of the Northeast, or through much of Saturday. And basically, you could see some, a few inches of snow, maybe up to 3 to 7 in Chicago. And then you could pick up a few inches in Detroit, and also in through Michigan. Looks like Grand Rapids will see a few inches. So you're going to see snow also in Milwaukee. You're going to see snow in upstate New York, around areas all the way into Vermont, into New Hampshire. You can see up to a foot of snow, maybe a little more. So, I'd say places like Burlington, Vermont, you're going to get quite a bit. And this is going to move into interior Maine, so interior New England, going to get hammered by snow, a foot or more. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. This part of the forecast is really still kind of just basically kind of coming into focus, and you can really see some of that heavier snowfall there in interior Northeast into New England. But these coastal areas, a lot of times, Boston and New York get quite a bit of snow. It's really been kind of a snow drought this year. You haven't seen as much as you usually would. But this system, if a few little factors change, could be a big snowfall producer. It's going to depend on that low pressure that's off the coast. So that's something I'll keep an eye on. Right now, my main focus, of course, is that severe weather threat. But into the weekend, starting tomorrow into Saturday, if there's any big changes in this part of the forecast, I'm going to let you know. And, you've got the winter storm severity index, from Chicago up through Detroit. You got that orange and even a few red. So it could be moderate to major impacts. You're going to see really gusty winds with this. So blowing snow is going to lead to pretty low visibility. Driving is going to be really hard. So I would prepare just to spend a couple of days at home, maybe through Saturday, Sunday morning. Make sure you have your medicines, enough food, that sort of thing. Get ready to shovel some snow. And it's just going to depend on where you're at. But right now, my main focus is going to be on how these things start to play out with that big old severe weather threat. A moderate risk day, that's 4 out of 5. That's a pretty big deal. So Arklatex in southeast Oklahoma, good luck. Please stay safe. Have ways to get warnings. With a lot of this, it's happening at night, after dark. Make sure those warnings are loud enough to wake you up if you decide to go to sleep. So, I just wanted to do all this and say hello and do a quick live forecast for you folks. Hope you're doing well, and I will see you guys later. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. See you later.